You heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to today's Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. I am George. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. This is Thanksgiving week. Obviously, a little bit kind of like a holiday, but I mean, honestly, this year seems like every day, every week is a holiday. So, but because of holiday, we could see something huge happen this week. Of course, last weekend we really didn't see anything. Bitcoin is hovering, and I believe the next leg up is coming. The next pump is coming right around the corner. But in the meantime, what's happening is altcoins are exploding, and that is, of course, positive. A lot of us do hold on a lot of altcoins, and they have been moving quite a bit. And I'm going to take credit for XRP's rise because of all my important infomercials that I've been showing you guys. You know, psychologically or deep down, you know, it's swaying you towards XRP. I'm just kidding about that. But those of you guys that are wondering, I'm going to discuss XRP, discuss altcoins, and of course, discuss Bitcoin and talk about when the next pump is coming. What do we have to look forward to? And there's a whole lot more to discuss. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, hit that notification bell. I do plan on having a lot more live streams now. It's a lot more exciting, a lot more information to talk about. So I may have daily ones coming up, you know, from the time being. Who knows? Make sure you follow me on Twitter so you know, and follow me here, of course. Now, I always want to start out talking about the Vegas fund because a lot of you guys want to join me at Vegas, right? It's time to start preparing for that. So I do have a BTC address just dedicated to that. Also, I put on my Patreon. I haven't discussed it for a while, but I do have a Patreon page for those of you guys that want to chat with me and want more exclusive insight. Then check out my Patreon page. All right, let's get started. What's going on with Bitcoin? Well, 18,370, not too shabby. You know, a couple times went to 18.8 and even went a little bit higher. 18.9 has not come up to 19,000 yet. So that's okay. What's happening right now is a little consolidation period, and that's not a bad thing. The fact that we haven't seen one of those huge drops yet shows you how strong Bitcoin is right now. It's really, really strong, and I'm going to show you more articles that talk about how strong it is. But you know what? What we're seeing right now is perfectly okay. It reminds me of this, right? And even before this, reminds me of this, where BTC, you could see, goes up rapidly. So over here, it was from 11,000, roughly 11,500, all the way up to about 13.2, right? And then it kind of hovered here for a little bit. Then it went up and down, a little more volatile, but overall still hovering in the 13,000s. And when it was ready, from 13.5 all the way up to 16,000. That's $2,500 increase. And then guess what happened? You know, there was a small little dip, and then we recovered quickly, right? Went sideways. Went up a little bit sideways, and then boom, boom, from 15,700 all the way up to 18,500. So that's a big jump. That's 3,000 point jump, right? So that is what we're seeing right now with Bitcoin. We're going sideways a little bit, and that's not a bad thing because when you go sideways, usually some of that money flows into altcoins, which is what we're seeing right now. So those of you guys that do hold many bags or heavy bags of altcoins, you're probably feeling pretty good right now because you're seeing slow movers like VeChain, Cardano, even XRP, ETH. They have all gone up by 30, 40, 50% within the last week alone, right? And that's only possible because BTC is now taking a breather. So this could continue for several more days. So last time BTC took a breather, it went from November 6th all the way up, let's just count over here, to November 15th. So that's roughly 10 days before it started climbing rapidly. So if you look at, let's say over here, November 18th, we're at 23rd. So it could go all the way up to like the 28th, or beyond before, the next stop is 20,000. It's not going to go stop at 19,000. It's going to go straight to 20,000 plus. And seeing how the last few times Bitcoin went up about $2,500 to $3,000. So this time around, it could go shoot up directly up to 21,000. And then, man, it's going to be wild, right? It's going to be wild. One of three things going to happen. It's either go explode up in a big, gigantic way, right? The bears get liquidated and they have no more footing. They basically have lost it and it could go up in a gigantic way. Or it could do more the same where it goes sideways a little bit and that's not too bad. And then our money flows into altcoins, which isn't bad. Or it could come down. There's many, many people that are predicting that Bitcoin will come down significantly. But here's my thinking. Here's my thoughts behind that. Goes up to 21,000, right? If it falls down, let's just say 7,000 points, okay? 7,000 points from 21,000. Guess where it's going to be? At 14,000, right? So that only brings us back down to November 5th. So it's not the end-all, be-all doomsday drop. And guess what's going to happen after it does this? You know what? It's going to do a V-shaped recovery very, very, very quickly. But if it does happen, man, that's a very, very good buying opportunity. But, quite honestly, that's the extremes. Bitcoin could just fall like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points. If it falls to 4,000, guess what? It goes down to 17,000. And that's where we were last week. So right now, I'm not worried. I don't think you guys are worried. You shouldn't be worried, right? Because this is normal. And Bitcoin is just doing its thing. That's why I think it's getting ready. It's getting ready for its next pump, its next leg up. We may have to wait another week. Maybe this week nothing happens. I did start the stream saying that this is Thanksgiving week, right? So maybe people are with their families and stuff. They don't want to really be trading, but we all know if you're in crypto, you're checking your portfolio like every 5 minutes anyways. So I don't think that's really going to be an issue, but who knows? Maybe there's lighter volumes. I don't know if people are really traveling, this year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens later this week. But yeah, right now, in the meantime, enjoy your altcoin gains, right? Altcoins are exploding. Let's just go real quick. I don't want to go through this just yet, but I just want to show you guys. Ethereum up 30%. XRP, like I said at the beginning, I'm getting in your psyche with all those infomercials. XRP is up a staggering 90% within a single week. But they're not alone. Cardano is up 44%, right? Everything across the board, even EOS up 26%, Stellar up 39%, right? And then what else is there? VeChain, I talked about VeChain being top 10 for a while, up 40%. And the list goes on, right? So a lot of the good ones are coming up, and that's what happens when Bitcoin consolidates. So that's not a bad thing. All right. Now, before I get to that, let's talk about what's going on with Bitcoin. Well, Max Kaiser is bullish as ever. And, I mean, it's starting to make sense, right? Before he made some wild calls, but now, some of these things that he's saying make sense. He's saying Bitcoin will rocket to $1 million because institutional investors will shut out retail investors, right? And we're starting to see that. So this is not actually that far-fetched. And to quote him, the demand for Bitcoin is growing almost exponentially while supply is mathematically locked at 900 a day. And in fact, in 2024, the supply gets cut to 450 a day. I didn't know that. It's 900 a day. That's not very many when you're looking at like Grayscale and others that's purchasing tens of thousands per week, right? So that's why I've been saying the amount of buying from institutional investors greatly outweigh, okay, how much the miners are producing per week. Greatly. We're talking about 5x to 10x more, right? So every new Bitcoin out there is being bought by institutions right now. And then to quote this, to continue, this is why I think institutions that buying Bitcoin will do so directly from the miners, and the public won't even have a chance to buy any. That's pretty much what's happening now. The public will be shut out as the price rockets to 1 million per coin. Meanwhile, Generation Z, who bought a lot of Bitcoin when it was under $100, will be the new global power elite. The world order is about to flip, right? So he's talking about people like himself, Roger Ver, possibly, even Charles was in pretty early. A lot of these guys, Charlie Lee, right? I mean, these guys are going to be insanely wealthy. If Bitcoin gets to 1 million per coin, these guys will be they'll be richer than Jeff Bezos. I mean, that's a huge increase, right? But the point of this is, and he points to other high-profile investors like Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, and Bill Miller, and others. We're talking about some of the richest people out there, and they're all investors, and they're all bullish on Bitcoin. And plus, right, PayPal is getting in, and I have an article about that too. That helps retail investors, not so much institutional investors, but still. This all leads to something, right? It leads to Bitcoin going much higher. Right now, what you're seeing is Bitcoin's going up because it's being bought out by institutional investors, the rich whales out there, right? And as Bitcoin goes higher and higher and higher, it really gets really expensive for a normal person to buy any or to even accumulate one. When Bitcoin is at $100,000, it's nearly impossible for a normal person that's working 9 to 5 to be able to dish out $100,000 to buy one Bitcoin, right? So right now it's already expensive. We're nearing $20,000. It's almost $20,000 to just buy one Bitcoin. But imagine when it's much higher, right? But for institutions, they still have billions on hand. They could buy pretty much as they want right now, and that's what they're doing, because once it gets to a certain point, right, it becomes expensive for them too. So I truly believe, that's what I've been saying for a while, 6,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, right? Still, it's a time to accumulate as much as you can, as much as you afford, and hodl, because it's going to get wild. It's going to get a lot higher than where it is now in terms of Bitcoin, right? So the name of the game is just to accumulate as much as possible and hodl for life-changing wealth, and it will happen. And if you reached, I think was that 0.23, that would put you in the upper 2% of the entire population, right? And if you could reach 1 Bitcoin or more, you're in the upper echelon of holders, right? And among the world, right? So just think about that. So, like I said, Max Kaiser before, a little crazy with his predictions, a little eccentric, but I do think he has a very, very valid point here, right? I think institutions and rich whales, they're buying up as much as they can, which is why when you look at statistics like retail FOMO, they don't exist right now. They're buying up before people are paying attention. And those of you guys that's watching me right now and has been in it for a while, you're ahead of the game. You know what's coming, right? So consider yourself lucky while everyone else is still staying naive and putting their head in the sand, refuse to believe. By the time they believe, it's a little bit too late. All right. All right. What else is there? 4 metrics that show that the current rally is different from 2017. So I've been saying this. The biggest reason is because right now it's not driven by retail FOMO. Okay, you could clearly see it. You know what? In fact, I'm going to bring up right now because this is a really telling sign that right now what's happening with Bitcoin is not driven. Let's do buy Bitcoin by retail FOMO, right? So right now, look at the past 12 months, right? Where we are now for this last week was still lower than May and March, although it's projected to go higher finally, right? But if you look at where we are now versus 2017, it doesn't even compute. It doesn't even show up, right? This was retail FOMO. This is what retail FOMO looks like. And this is where we are now. So what's happening with Bitcoin right now is not driven by retail FOMO at all. And And that is the biggest difference right now, right? The smart money, the big money is buying as much as they can behind the scenes, and you don't want to be caught not having a piece too, right? But there are some interesting things here. Look at this. Addresses that hold at least one Bitcoin, right, versus the Bitcoin price. So you could see that despite the fact, this shows you how strong holders are. Despite the fact that Bitcoin went from here down here, you could see the addresses holding really didn't drop, right? It continued to go higher and higher and higher. But you could see that at this point right here, when Bitcoin is really flying, you could see how the address holding one Bitcoin really kind of went parabolic. Do you see that happening right now? No. This is what I've been saying, right? The retail and FOMO hasn't hit. But when you see this start going up, you know, imagine this price. It'll be like way, way, way up here, right? So very telling statistic, I guess, about retail investors just not really getting in right now, not really FOMOing. But the holders, the ones that's been in it, come on. They know the game, right? They've been holding, and they're not gonna get scared out, and they're doing it right, which is why you don't see a dramatic drop. All right, this is even more telling. Look at this. Addresses that hold at least 1,000 Bitcoin. So these are the early guys, miners, very rich people, right? What's interesting about this is when Bitcoin hit about here, and that wasn't very high. Okay, actually, it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but this was back in 2016, right? You could see the number of addresses holding 1,000 Bitcoin actually started decreasing, started selling off. So a lot of these people lost a ton because they missed out on this rise. But anyways, as Bitcoin started going up, look at what happened. A lot of whales are like, no, this is not sustainable. I'm going to sell out. So you could actually see this dipping, right? But guess what happened? When Bitcoin hit 3,000, oh man, this started buying up, right? Again, smart money, big money is like, I can't lose out on this opportunity. And then they bought back in at 3,100, and it's been going up. But you don't see this declining like this. So there's no rich whales right now that's thinking, I need to sell, that, you know, the bubbles go burst. Not like how it was before. It just continues to slowly climb up. This is another telling sign of why it's different this time around, right? So these are pretty cool. These are pretty cool charts. Another reason why is you look at Ethereum and ICOs. So look at 2017, right? Ethereum exploded in a big way mid-year, came down, exploded in a big way. But you can see the gains. BTC didn't really pick up until the end of the year. And when it did start picking up, Ethereum just kind of stalled out, right? Ethereum still went up a little bit, but still kind of stalled out when Bitcoin went up. And Bitcoin did surpass it a couple times at the end of 2017. Well, look at what's happening right now. Ethereum is nowhere close to Bitcoin, right? So it's not like the same thing. Ethereum was exploding because ICOs, there's just money, you know, everywhere, right, flowing around, and people are moving around. This time around, not so much. Ethereum will still go up, and it could catch up to Bitcoin. But again, it shows you that right now, 2017 is much different. Ethereum has a lot more competition, and, you know, we don't have ICO craze, right? And right now, the name of the game is Bitcoin. That's why it's also different. This is comparing BTC dominance with the other, you know, altcoins out there, right? And then there's more. CME future interest, you know, is sky high, right? Again, showing institutional interest. Open interest on the exchanges is only getting higher, right? North America, okay, there's a lot more. Okay, you get my drift, right? So the point of this article is this rally is different in 2017. And I totally agree. But the main thing is it's driven by institutional investors right now, right? And the reason why they're getting involved is because they know what's up. They usually get in before everyone else does. They want to fill their bags. And that is what they're doing right now. So those of you guys that's in it, you know what's going on, right? You're in the know, but everyone else is not. So that's the key thing. And when everyone else wants to get in, that's when Bitcoin will be at 100,000 plus. So you don't want to wait until then to get a piece. I've been saying that for a while, but in case some of you guys are new. PayPal CEO, this is a complete 180. The ex-CEO just, I think, last year. Maybe that's why he's the ex-CEO, okay? The ex-CEO went on CNBC and debated multiple people. I think he debated Brian Kelly. Basically said Bitcoin is a Ponzi, it's a fraud, it's a scam. Well, look at the current CEO. The current CEO says he's bullish on Bitcoin. So I think that there'll be more and more use case for cryptocurrency, right? That'll make BTC more widely acceptable, more stable, and probably more valuable over time, right? Of course, this is going to happen. I mean, it's not like, okay, to be fair, it's not like he could come out and say Bitcoin is a fraud and offer crypto services, right? So he kind of has to say this, but still, you have more and more people that is switching to Bitcoin. They're becoming more bullish on Bitcoin, and PayPal's like entrance into Bitcoin and crypto is really the last. I don't know if Bitcoin needs to be legitimized, but this really does legitimize it, at least among retail investors that don't know any better, right? Because if they're not paying attention to the news, they're not paying attention to my video, whatever, a lot of them will probably think, okay, well, if Bitcoin is so good, why don't I see it in all my apps, right? Now they can't see that. Like hundreds of million people use PayPal every month, right? And now they're all seeing, oh, I could buy Bitcoin in PayPal, right? It really adds to that credibility and legitimacy that a lot of people are looking for in terms of Bitcoin and Bitcoin buying and stuff, right? They might not trust Bitcoin, but if they see PayPal is involved, they're going to trust them more, right? And I'm talking about general people, not guys that really know what they're doing, but general people that know how to use PayPal, but they have no clue about hardware wallets or securing crypto or going on Coinbase, all that. All they want to do is buy Bitcoin, and now they could do so on PayPal. And of course, Square allows this too, and Robinhood, and pretty much any future brokerage, any brokerage out there in the future will probably allow this too, right? So this is helping retail FOMO, although it's not there. But imagine when retail FOMO starts doing this, okay? Just think about that. The amount of people getting in will be astronomical versus 2017 because of services like PayPal and Square and Robinhood, which didn't offer this in 2017, and people were struggling how to create a Coinbase account or Binance account, and things were just crashing left and right. That won't happen this time around. Well, maybe exchanges will crash left and right, but guys like PayPal and Square, they're not going to be crashing. They're going to be able to handle hundreds of millions of requests to buy Bitcoin and altcoins. So this is this is going to be a huge thing when Bitcoin and altcoins really skyrocket in 2021. And even according to this, they boosted a weekly purchase. It was 10,000, now it's 20,000, and pretty soon they'll probably go bump it up to like 100,000 for weekly, right? It doesn't really cost them anything, so why not? This is an interesting chart. So it's kind of hard to read, but I'll just, explain it to you. So this is the past 3 halving events that happened with Bitcoin when the supply decreased by half. And this is the current one that we just went through this year. Okay, so the first one, since Bitcoin's inception to its first halving, it went from $0, pretty much $0 to $32. So that is a huge gain, 3,200% gain, right? It could be even higher than that. And then the second one went from $12 to $1,200. That is a huge gain. That happened afterwards, okay? That's when I got into Bitcoin and Litecoin when it first hit $1,200, right? And it went from $12 to $1,200. So that's a huge astronomical gain. The last one that most of you guys will be are familiar with is when Bitcoin went from a low of $658 all the way up to $20,000. But let's just, just to be fair, let's just say $1,200 to $20,000. Okay. And this time around, who knows where this is going to go. This says it's a high of 8,500, a low of 5,800, 8,500, and then this only went up to $17,800 because we're obviously higher than that. But honestly, if you're looking at our low of 3,100 from last year, right, to where we are now, that's a pretty good gain, but they're trying to stay consistent. Ultimately, this could be reaching up here, right? Because you could see this went up like tremendously. This went up tremendously. This went up, even though it went up just like one level. This one level is from 1,000, 10,000, right? So now if it goes from one level from 10,000 up, we're looking at $100,000. And that could be right around the corner by the end of 2021. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I probably blocked you on Twitter because you deserved it. And now you deserve to be blocked in my chat for spamming. So please stop doing that. All right. 5 crypto bulls predict what's next for Bitcoin as it closes in on an all-time high. Well, these are the usual guys that are very pro Bitcoin, right? So I don't expect them to say anything different. The main difference between now and 2017 rally is that back then the market was driven by retail speculation, and now it's being driven by corporations and billionaires. Yes, that is 100% true. What else there? All right, whatever. It's too hard to go through these quotes, but I already covered this. You get my point, right? You get my point. So I just want to bring up, because I saw this today and this was kind of interesting. So this sleek 52-foot sailing, this boat, this is a gigantic boat, was just bought with Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin goes higher and higher and higher and higher, you're going to hear more about extravagant purchases with Bitcoin, right? Back a few years ago, it was Lambos, right? And I remember this guy, Peter Saddington, he used to run a channel and he just disappeared. But he bought a Lambo due to $115 worth of Bitcoin that rose up to a few $100,000. And he decided to buy a Lambo. But, it used to be one Lambo. But pretty soon it's going to be one yacht, one mansion, right? It's going to be pretty extravagant purchases in the future as Bitcoin goes higher and higher and higher. So just want to remind you guys of what's coming. All right. So I talked about altcoins. So here is an article about Ethereum. Hit 600 for the first time since June 2018. So Ethereum has been rallying, but still is trailing behind Bitcoin. But it is coming up. A lot of people looking forward to Ethereum 2.0 and staking and all that good stuff, right? However, Ethereum is still trailing. Like if you look at Bitcoin in 18,000 when Bitcoin was 18,000 in 2017, Ethereum was like well past 1,000, right? So it's not quite there yet, but it could catch up. Those of you guys that are Ethereum fans, just have to wait a little bit longer. And of course, I talked about XRP. XRP has surpassed $22.2 billion. I showed you guys on CoinMarketCap. It is above 90% for the past week. That is a big, big jump at 53 cents. Remember when XRP FOMO really hit, it was 377, I believe, or 380. Can it FOMO up to nearly $4 from its current price? I don't know, but maybe if I play my infomercial enough times and it like soaks into your psyche, maybe. And the only thing I found for Ripple is they plan on making XRP Ledger integral part of central bank digital currency movement. So obviously they're trying to still push their agenda, push the central banks and banks to utilize XRP as a bridge currency between different currencies. That is their end game. If they can make it happen and convince everyone to use it, then maybe 589 will be around the corner. But if they can't, then I guess we'll see where it heads, right? I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Obviously, there's a lot of altcoin movement right now. I showed you guys this at the beginning. A lot of the ones that was not moving before, we're talking like Cardano was really lagging up in a big way. XRP was very lagging up in a big way. Ethereum, same thing. And if you look at everything else, EOS, which I really don't hear about, they're up. Stellar's up. Tron, Tezos. I mean, really, if you're holding on something that's not going up in a big way, that probably means that it went up already and it just kind of rotating. But I'm really glad to see coins like VeChain go up in a big way. We know how good VeChain is and how good it'll be in the future. It was really trailing. Good to see it go up. I'm still not sure why Waves is going up in a big way. I know they have their DEX. They must have something going on, but quite honestly, I don't know why they're going up. Obviously, DeFi went up in a big way last week, so things like Aave, Yearn, right? They went up huge last week, so they may be taking a breather. But looking at Yearn, they're still up 32% for the past 7 days. Synthetic, Compound, UMA, some of these went up already. Basic Intention Token, another one that I really like, up 22%, so good for them. What else? Just going down the list, pretty much, it's a good day. It's a good week, I should say, right? Not good day. It is a good day, but pretty good week overall, so can't really complain. So yeah, if you notice your portfolio not moving at all over the last 7 days, then you're probably doing it wrong. Let's just put it that way. All right, I'll turn to you guys for some Q&A. Well, since you guys asked for it, I have no choice. Here's a little infomercial or explainer video about XRP and Ripple and why it's going up.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.
Is Coinbase a good wallet to have BTC? Yeah, Coinbase is one of the bigger exchanges. I do trust them. They also have insurance coverage, unless you get hacked. Only if they get hacked, they'll cover it. But if you get hacked, they're not going to cover it. But anyways, yeah, if you're holding on Bitcoin on Coinbase, I think that's okay. But ultimately, the best thing is to put on your own hardware wallet. Even DentaCoin might go up. I would not be surprised if DentaCoin went up. Yep. A whole 4%. Dean, I'm not trolling. It's probably through my infomercials that XRP has gone up so big. BitTorrent, I don't know what's the deal with BitTorrent and Tron. They have been kind of stagnant, but then again, that could mean that their turn is next. Because what's happening right now is you're seeing how certain altcoins pump, and then a certain group pumps, and a certain group pumps, right? So BitTorrent and Tron really have not been moving that much. Although 20% for last week isn't bad, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many people actually use BTT for what it's intended, right? So I just don't know. I just don't know. And I know that BTT's supply increased dramatically within this last year. So I'm not a fan of Digibyte. I am a fan of Uniswap simply because it is the biggest DEX out there. You know what? I haven't checked DeFi Pulse in a while. Let's see. DeFi Pulse, yeah, I mean, 14 billion locked in is still going up, right? So if you're looking at a DEX, even though Curve isn't far behind, but Curve is only for stablecoins. So when you're talking about a DEX, Uniswap is the far and away leader. Although Sushi is there, right? Sushi has come up in a big way recently. But if you're looking at like lending companies, like Maker is still number one. I think Aave is still going to be around for a while. Compound actually jumped up in a big way. But, you know, in terms of DEXs, I still like Uniswap because they're the biggest DEX. And also I do like Aave. I think, you know, they've seen really tremendous gains in the past and they have done really well. And before I covered Aave when they were still known as Ethland or Ethland, and they kind of rebranded themselves, kind of, but they were really in it before DeFi was a thing, right? So they're kind of still doing the same thing. But anyways, but yeah, I do believe I like those projects. A lot of retail investors can't afford Bitcoin. I can see retail investors being buy altcoins to make them rich in Bitcoin. That's I mean, psychologically, yes, but that's not true because you could buy fractional Bitcoin. You don't have to own 1 Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoins. You could own 0.1 Bitcoin. 0.1 Bitcoin, you know, of 100,000 Bitcoin is still $10,000, right? But I get your point. Some people will say, oh, it's too high, so let me buy, you know, B-Trash or whatever, right? That's their prerogative. But you don't want to fall for that. You know better. Is Carlo Mato still around? People like seeing whole numbers though. Yeah, that's true. Psychologically, I think there's something to that. But still, the smart money will be in Bitcoin, right? Right now, what you're saying with all the big investors, what they're doing is hoarding Bitcoin. They're hoarding as much Bitcoin as they can, right? I haven't heard or seen or anyone really talk about, oh, I'm hoarding, you know, Bcash right now or Litecoin or even Ethereum for that matter. Even Grayscale, which holds $1.2 billion worth of Ethereum, they don't really advertise that much. They advertise a lot of other things too, because I think things that they're weak in. They always advertise like, oh, we hoard so much Ethereum, Ethereum Classic or something like that. Like, it's kind of interesting. I do have some nice sun today, but not after today. After today, it's gonna be like all sun and rain and stuff. Marco, you changed your icon. I almost didn't recognize you. What do you say now is a good time to take profits? I honestly think when we're at 20,000 would be a better time. I think there's nothing stopping this train to hit at least 20,000. Now, I've said at the beginning and many times before, there could be a drop at 20,000. So if you're really worried, you want to take some off the table, I would say do it closer to 20,000. Maybe at 19,000, 19,500, you know, as we're approaching, take some off the table. But right now, I think it's a little bit too early for that. And you could kind of tell because, you know, even though Bitcoin tried to drop a few times, it held at 17.7 and it broke right back up, right? If this was like the start of a bubble pop or something, we would have gone down a little bit more dramatic by now. So I would say hold for a little bit longer, but that's just me. But if you want to be super cautious, you already made a ton with Bitcoin and you're afraid of that next doomsday drop, then take some off the table now. No one ever gets hurt taking profits. So remember that. Is Stellar a good project? Stellar is a good project. I just don't know what they're doing anymore. They were involved with WorldWire, with IBM. I think that's been canceled. So it's more like the XLM Foundation that's just like making people aware of XLM and Bitcoin, but their partnership with IBM seems to have just collapsed. I don't even know if IBM is really into crypto anymore. They were really gung ho like 2 years ago. Now I don't see anything. They were like commercials left and right about a lot of things. So I don't know. I will say that it's cheaper than XRP, but Stellar is made to be inflationary. So there will be more XLM produced per year to reward the miners or the stakers. XRP, on the other hand, is deflationary. They do burn some every quarter if there's too many, but overall, there's a set number already, unless Ripple just somehow decides, I don't know, that they're going to try to change that. But even then, they don't own the ledger, so they really can't even if they wanted to. But there is a fundamental difference between XRP and XLM. One is deflationary, one is inflationary. Why don't you change your logo back? You do not think there will be a pullback before 20? I mean, we had pullbacks already. I mean, we just had one recently to back down to 17,000 something. Right? Let's zoom in a little bit here. We have many pullbacks. I mean, if you look at this one, excuse me, we pulled back to 17.6. You know, that's a pretty significant one. Another one, 18,000, right? I don't see any significant pullbacks until 20,000. I think right around 20,000 or beyond, because I think this next leg up can actually push us higher than 20,000, maybe to even 21,000. But at that point, if there is going to be a pullback, it will happen then. I'm 60% sure that I'm right. But I honestly think that's when it's going to happen. But if you want to be safe about it, don't wait until 20,000. Do it at 19,000 or 18.9 or whatever, right? You could take some off the table. But I do think that's where, if one is going to come, that's where it'll come. But maybe after 20,000, who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? Will we ever drop to 3,200? I don't believe that's the case. I just don't see that happening. If it does, I've been wrong many times. If it does, I would be going all in. I would seriously go all in. If we ever went back to 3,200, I would not make the same mistake again, because obviously we didn't go to 3,200 this year, but we were down to 3,800 briefly before recovering around 4,000s, 5,000s. But regardless, you know, really regret not going all in at that point, right? But if it ever happens, it'll be the greatest gift that we can ever receive in terms of buying more Bitcoins. But I just don't see it. Chicago Brew says XLM is in the process of being instituted as one or more African states form currency. More research required. If anything, that's going to get more traction in Africa, I would say it would be the ALTCOIN coin, right? Because they're already creating a digital city. I forgot where, in Nigeria, I think ALTCOIN. So if that takes off, it's more likely that will gain more traction within the African countries. But I don't know. I don't really pay attention to what's going on over there, to be quite honest. John. Incentive investment. You can email me and then tell me what your thing is, and then I'll look into it. Wakanda. What do you think about stablecoins? Would you keep your private stablecoins? Yeah, if you have to take some off the table, but you know you don't want to cash out, then sure, put into stablecoins, right? I still don't trust Tether 100%, so I would still rather use something like USDC or something like that. But if you have to, you know, I get USDT is very convenient, and every exchange uses it. And it's quite nice when you're sending between exchanges. You can select if you want the ERC20 version or the TRX20 version, because the TRX one sometimes is faster and no fees, right? So kind of nice. But anyways, yeah, utilize that, or just simply sell. If you're using Coinbase or Gemini, just sell it to cash. It doesn't matter. It's the same number of fees, same amount of fees, and just as quick. So why not? 700 people watching. Wow. Smash up the likes, guys. Smash it up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Notification. Of course, I'm going to show my Patreon page again. So those of you guys that are interested in having a private chat with me, or just private chat with other like-minded crypto individuals, and you want to get more insight, I do have my Patreon page up. I also have my Vegas fund up. Those of you guys that want to join me at Vegas, it's going to happen, just not this year. Probably after that vaccine is widely spread. So after Bitcoin is above 20,000, everyone is feeling good. Everyone has their new Lambos or Teslas or Ferraris or whatever, right? We can have a good gathering at Vegas and have a good old time. So I started a Vegas fund with that. Also follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, because sometimes notifications don't really work well. With YouTube, it's flaky. Some people say they get it, some people say they don't. I don't know. And it's also, YouTube is still utilizing a lot of bots. My last video is demonetized. It's somehow they said it wasn't suitable for all ad viewers or whatever, so they demonetized it. You know, you could appeal it, which I did, but I still haven't heard an answer. So I don't know. YouTube is still kind of flaking sometimes because of their use of machine learning or bots. Edward, no, I would never advise anyone, including you, to get a loan of any kind. Doesn't matter how sure you are, even if I'm 100% sure, right? Don't get a loan. Don't put, you know, crypto purchase on credit cards. Don't put down your crypto as collateral. Don't do any of those things, okay? That means you can't really afford it. Never invest what you can't afford. Okay, that's rule number one. Doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or stocks or anything. Just don't do it, because you can really burn yourself. If you bought Bitcoin and crashes 1,000 tomorrow, you still own it. Okay, but if you buy Bitcoin, you put on your credit card, right, or you get a loan and it crashes. Now you can't pay off that loan, and now you're paying interest on it, right? And you're just setting yourself up for disaster. So don't do it. Don't do it. Is ETH taking off? I don't know. Maybe. Elon has mentioned he wants to colonize Mars with 1 million people. There's no way he's imagining sitting on Mars without thinking about cryptocurrency. Yeah, I mean that's a good case, but I don't know if we'll see a Mars colony or a Mars city within our lifetime. But if there is, it would be really, really silly, right, for people on Mars to be using cash, USD. That just doesn't make any sense. It has to be all digital. So crypto actually makes a whole lot of sense, right? Since people asked nicely, so let's just look at some of these. Let's bring up ETH. So here, I want to go back all the way to 2017. So I drew a lot of lines with ETH, and it broke through all the resistances, which is really, really good, right? ETH is right at $600. It was at $600 before. So if you look at like the monthly, so a broader view of where it was, right? So the next stop for a monthly would be right around, probably around 650-ish. Oops, I did not want to do that. That just brought up Link for some reason, but I'll look at Link next. So about 650-ish, right? And then the next stop is right around 750-ish, then 850-ish, and then 1100, right? So it went from 850 to 1100 really quickly. So those are our next stop, basically every 50, 100 point increments. So it's definitely on the right track, and it has been gaining more recently. Now, if you're looking at some of the shorter indicators, monthly is very long. Let's go to weekly. Weekly RSI is pretty high up. Not as high as some of the times before. You know, when it was really pumping, it got as high as 97, 98. And there's a time where it got up to 90. So right now, even on the weekly, RSI is high, it's 78, but it's not nearly as high as before. So it could definitely have room to grow. And stochastic is also going up, so it could definitely climb much higher. If Bitcoin continues to really start, you know, pumping up, I could see Ethereum pumping up to 900, you know, in basically no time, right? It really depends on how fast Bitcoin is moving, but Ethereum definitely has more room to grow. So that is a very positive thing. So since I looked at Chainlink before, I also still like Chainlink. Chainlink is one that hasn't moved that much recently, so they could be preparing to move. I showed this, I think, last week. Chainlink is, you know, stuck in this channel that's pretty consistent, right? Goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Recently, they just went up. So actually, if you're looking at the daily, probably not a good time to buy Chainlink. They could be on the way down, although with current momentum, they could just be hugging that and finally break through. If they do break through this, it would be very, very bullish. If they break through the channel and continue higher, very bullish. We know Chainlink has gone up much higher before. They were above $20, right? So after that, they kind of cooled off, right? But they could definitely get back up there. So if you look at like the weekly, they're much lower than Ethereum. Their weekly actually looks fantastic. Their RSI is at 62, not even above 70. Stochastic barely turned. So actually, the daily, not so good, but longer term weekly, Chainlink actually looks like a great pickup because they really haven't been moving after they came down for $20. All right, I know some of you guys can't wait for me to pull up XRP here. I know you guys really love my XRP infomercial. Here's XRP. So I had a better chart. But anyways, XRP finally broke through its previous highs. Okay, so it's doing something now it hasn't done for the past basically 2 years. Of course, it got up like $3 something, but you could see it's been forming lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And recently, even up in this point when it was like 30 cents, it still didn't break its previous highs, but this time it did. So this could be the turning point for XRP, although I know some of you guys will be thinking, oh, you're doing a 180 flip on XRP. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, looking at a chart, this could be a flipping point. But if you look at the weekly, it is sky high. Sky high at 84. Stochastic is still getting up there. So I don't know if this is sustainable for XRP. But I still believe that this $589 notion, you know, from XRP family or army, I just don't see that. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I know a lot of you guys are XRP fans, or at least you jump on a bandwagon whenever it goes up. So I just want to show you guys that. I do not want an XRP t-shirt. Ripple stopped selling XRP? Probably. I mean, they've been the biggest reason why XRP kept doing this over the last few years is because Ripple's, you know, that's how they make money. They sell XRP, right? So they've been selling. They finally said that they were going to stop selling that much. So that's when it probably bottomed out. And then now they probably stopped selling. But, you know, for Ripple to stop selling is great for XRP, but it's horrible for the company because that's how they make money. They stated they don't make money with XRP by holding or hoarding or trading it. They make money by selling XRP to companies that need it. And if they're not selling it, then they're not making any money. So I don't know if that's a good business for them. Anyways, that's enough of the XRP. Oh, let's look at VeChain real quick. VeChain is since it's doing so well, let's look at VeChain. If it could pull up. Hello. Okay, there we go. So VeChain actually acted pretty good. So obviously it was a little bit higher before. It fell down, and I said, you know what, you got to see if it can utilize this as support, and it did. This became a hard support. And this is a little bit higher than the previous resistance before, so that's very positive. And you can see that they bounced off of here really well. Now it's going up in a big way, right? So the next point is around 2 cents, and then they can keep going. It'll be about 2.5 cents, right? But you can see that their weekly chart looks fantastic. Stochastic just barely turned up. You know, RSI just turned up from the middle, right? Looks really good. Volume is also picking up, right? So these are good signals. So VeChain definitely is looking strong at this point too. So good for VeChain. Jim, I don't know if you're being facetious or not. Horst, is there a bigger risk if cryptos will get regulated by the U.S. administration? There's no bigger risk. It's just a bigger pain, right? Because I know diehard, libertarians, they don't want to see the government involved at all, right? And that's a true dream for Bitcoin and crypto. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Government wants to tax it. So they're going to start regulating exchanges. Of course, every time you start an account, they're going to want to know your KYC information, and then they're going to want to tax you. That's what's coming, right? So unfortunately, that's coming. Unless you just hold all your Bitcoin or crypto on your hard wallet and you never go into exchange. You could do it that way and just pay for things in the future directly with Bitcoin. You could kind of circumvent it, but that is coming for sure. That is coming for sure. All right, guys, I'll let you go. So I started a stream saying Bitcoin is doing its thing. It's hovering, and that's not a bad thing at all. It's consolidating, waiting for its next leg up, just like this, right? This took about 10 days or so, and we've only had like a few days. So we may have another 5 days, 6 days to go. But this is Thanksgiving, lighter volume. Who knows what may happen? Who knows what may happen on the stock market too, because it's doing really well today too, and could be for this week. So in the meantime, as we're waiting for Bitcoin, altcoins are doing very, very well, right? So that is also very good. But again, you don't want to go like all in on altcoins right now, because it can flip on a dime and Bitcoin starts skyrocketing and altcoins actually get drained out. We have seen that many, many times before, and I don't think that's going to stop. So right now, I'd say it's good to kind of diversify a little bit, right? Get into some altcoins that you may have given up interest or ones that you've been eyeing, right? A little bit dabbing here or there, that wouldn't hurt. But you want to be careful. You don't want to go too heavy. All right, guys, that is it. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter. And, of course, check out my Patreon and the Vegas Fund if you're so inclined. All right, until next time, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, for good measure, take a listen.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.